Good afternoon, everyone. Can everyone hear me okay? Perfect. Truth be told, I like to kind of, move about a little bit. I'd be a little confined over in this area. So if you don't mind, I'm going to kind of stand out. I want to see you. I want to interact with you. And I really want you to be engaged in this presentation. Before I say anything further, I'd like to say thank you to Dr. Catherine Ward and her entire staff. I know that all of you are fully aware that it takes a lot of work, a lot of effort, a lot of determination to put on a big conference like this. And so, Dr. Ward, I want to say thank you for the invitation. And can we give her a hand clap, as well as her entire staff? I'd like to acknowledge in Kayla's absence, and I don't know if Lindsay Sin is still here, but I'd like to acknowledge her. Pat O'Rourke, it's so good to see you. It's been a little while since I've seen you, but it's really good to see you. And I'd like to, again, I'd like to express appreciation for the opportunity to be here and speaking to female veterans during Women's History Month. I also would like to say thank you to a very special woman who is responsible for my being here. She's probably out and about doing something as she normally is. If you don't find her, advocating on behalf of veterans, she's somewhere writing a grant in her office. If you don't find her lobbying at the front desk of some politician's office, and you know that she's encouraging veterans to do that for themselves. Nancy Montgomery, if you are somewhere around, there she is. Can we give her a hand clap? She is an advocate for veterans, for female veterans, and if you've not had the opportunity to meet Nancy Montgomery, take my word for it, she is your friend. She is your friend, again, whether you've had the opportunity to meet her or not. So this afternoon, I have the delightful opportunity of speaking after you all have had lunch. And so I know that that's a huge task for me that's been placed in my lap already, but I, again, am very, very honored to be here. You've already heard presentations this morning. And so my responsibility this afternoon, I do not see it as being intended to wow you or to share any novel ideas or share anything that you've not already heard, because you've already been wowed. You've heard Kayla Williams share her stories of challenge and difficulty and triumph. You've heard her share very, very transparently her experience as a female veteran, and many of you have experienced various things that she mentioned, but at the same time, you've heard again the final triumphant story that she is still in the game and that she is still conquering the challenges that life will sometimes present to each and every one of us. And then you heard Lindsay Sin, and so I want you to know that I'm not here to say anything that you've not already heard. Instead, I believe that my responsibility this afternoon is to help you to connect with that quiet place inside of you, that place where you feel even more empowered, where you feel more courageous than you already have and that you've already proven yourself to be, where you feel stronger, where you feel more confident and more capable of achieving your goals. You are all here at this Women Veterans Education or in Higher Education Conference. And you are here for a purpose and you are here for a reason. I want to know who's in this audience. So if you would, please lift your hands if you are a female veteran, if you are a veteran. Yes, let's give them a hand. And I know you hear this a lot, but I want you to hear this and I want you to recognize how appropriate it is to hear this. Thank you for your service. I know at times it sounds very, very cliche, but it is an appropriate statement to share and to say to you, because you are creating a path for the next generation of female veterans, whether you recognize that or not. And so thank you for your service is the least that someone can say to you. I also want to find out if there are any faculty and staff members or community leaders in this room. Would you lift your hand? I want to know who you are. Yes, so let's give them a hand as well. Thank you for being here. The fact that you are here signifies the importance of why we are here this afternoon. And so I want to kind of focus your attention in my presentation. I want to focus your attention to a statement that I'm hoping that all of you will take away with you. That I am empowered to change my world. How many of you would believe that you are empowered to change your world? Can I see your hands again? I want to see your engagement. Absolutely. I see almost everyone's hand up. So at this time, I want you to actually say it. I am empowered to change my world. I want to hear you say that out loud.
I am empowered to change my world.
Now, I want you to turn to someone and I want you to say it this time like you actually mean it. No, wait 1 second. I'll tell you when to go, but I want you to hear the words that you're actually getting ready to say. And then when you turn and look at someone, I want you to say it so that it resonates with something inside of the person that you are speaking to. I am empowered to change my world. Now I want you to turn and say it.
I am empowered to change my world.
Yeah. So that is the theme of my talk this afternoon, and that's the idea, and that's the perception. That's what I want you to keep in mind, because that is going to be the takeaway message, that you are empowered to change your world. So we find ourselves at a very interesting moment in time. You find yourselves as a female veteran at a very, very interesting, peculiar time in not only American history, but world history. And I know it may sound like, oh, she's just being sensational, so she's just saying all of that just to get us all hyped. But I really want you to think about the time in which we are living right now, where we find ourselves at a time, regardless of your political view, that's not what I'm interested in, but we find ourselves at a moment when we were this close to seeing the very first female president of the United States of America. This close. So again, I'm not reflecting on a political viewpoint. We also find ourselves at a time and juncture in history where a young girl could be shot with the intention of killing her, but instead of killing her, she finds a voice and a place in history and in time where she becomes the international symbol of education for women all across the globe. And she becomes the very youngest winner of the Nobel Peace Prize, not recognizing that she had changed the course of history simply by living. So many of you in this room have already experienced things that most people would say, you have an excuse to just lift your hands up and say, I quit, I give up. But because you are in this room, because you are a student, because you are pursuing your goals and your dreams, and because you are recognizing the significance of this moment, you can now say with greater confidence that I am prepared and I am empowered to do what? I am empowered to change my world. Now, we're going to be saying that a lot because, again, I want you to recognize that that is a take-home message, that by the end of this conference, my job and my responsibility, in my view, is not for Saturday, March 17th, 2018. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad that you all are here. I appreciate the invitation. I said that already. But my objective is not for Saturday, March 17th. My objective is for every single day that comes after today. So I'm wanting you to focus on not just today, but what am I going to glean from the presenters that I've already heard? What am I going to glean from the Circle Mentors speeches and the sharing that we've had already? What am I going to take away from this women's conference that's going to literally change and alter the trajectory of my life? Now that I recognize that I am changing my culture, I am changing the military's face simply by being a part of the military veterans community. I have already done more than I may recognize that I've done. Many of you were the first to be female veterans in your family. Many of you may be the first to go to higher education. Many of you are going to change the economic system, the political system, the educational system, the sciences. You have the ability to do any number of things because, truth be told, you've already proven that ability by the fact that you are a minority in a male-dominated environment in the military. Now, I'm not saying that, to dismiss men. We love men. We appreciate men. But today is all about you, female veterans. Today, again, is about your future and recognizing the power and the authority that you carry, whether you recognize that or not. So I want to share with you an idea. But before I do that, I want to ask you, what comes to mind when you think about these names that I'm going to mention? And I do want you to respond to me. So when you hear names like Josephine Baker or Oprah Winfrey or Hillary Clinton or Malala Yousafzai, or what do you think? What comes to mind when you hear these names? And I want to hear you. What comes to mind when you hear these names? I can't hear you. Say. World changers. Absolutely. What else do you think about? Triumph over struggles. Yes. What else? What do you think about? I heard someone over here. What do you think about? What comes to mind? Determination. Thank you. Anything else? One last comment. What comes to mind? What was that? Leadership. Persistence. And what was that? Fearless. Courage. So all of these wonderful adjectives and words come to mind when you hear just simply the names of these women. So now I want to ask you another question. And I really want you to think about this question before you respond. What makes them so different? What makes them so special? Don't want you to answer. That's a rhetorical question, but I do want you to ponder it within yourself. What makes them so unique? Well, I want to present to you that maybe they're not any more unique than you. They had struggles, they had challenges, they had fears, they had insecurities, they had obstacles, they had challenges that seemed insurmountable. But they also had dreams and determination and dedication and a belief in their dreams that despite the obstacles that came against them, that they were willing to stand firm and that they were willing to let their voices be heard. So I want to say to you that perhaps they're not any different than you or I. That they're made of the same stuff that you are made of, and that you are made of, and that you are made of, 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 that you are made of. They were finally able to connect themselves with the time and to connect themselves with their gifting, with their ability, with that thing that set them apart. So they had the same stuff, but at some point in time, a light switch came on that said, I have arrived in a certain moment in time, and it's time for me to acknowledge that. Fear is going to come. Adversity will come. Obstacles will come. Insecurities will come. Uncertainty will come. But I have determined to acknowledge the moment that I am standing in. So I'm saying this because I do not believe that it's coincident that you all are not only in this room, but that you have been placed on this earth at this very unique moment in time. And I simply want you to acknowledge it, to embrace it. Again, fears are going to come. And to make the determination that I'm going to step in that. whatever that is, for myself, for my family, for my fellow veteran sisters, for the future, for those who come after me, whether or not I ever get the opportunity to meet them and say, hi, my name is. That's what these women were able to do. And so again, I'm not here to wow you, to share anything that you don't already know. I'm here to help inspire you. And what does inspire mean? Inspiration is, in its original, is to breathe life into the essence and the core of who you are, your spirit. So we are all here connected on some level, whether we know it or not, and we are contagious. So there is something that you have the ability to say that will elicit and evoke a chain of thoughts within me and ideas within me simply by you having a voice and letting your voice be heard. This is going in and out. Are you all still able to hear me? Okay. We are connected and we are contagious because something that you say or something that you do has the ability to impact and inspire breath inside of me. Again, that's after all why we're here. That's why we've had speakers. That's why we had the circle ups. That's why everyone who's here is important and significant, because truth is, if you hadn't been here, this whole room, Dr. Ward, would be very, very different. Something would be missing. And although I don't know you, if you weren't here in this room, the dynamic would have shifted just a little bit. Some conversation at that table would not have taken place that will alter someone else's thought process. If you hadn't stepped in, at the moment that you stepped in, someone would not have taken notice and said, I like the way she carries herself. That has the potential of changing and altering someone else's future, whether you are aware of it or not. I am empowered to change my world. Whether small, whether big, however you define it, that is why we're here this afternoon. Again, to encourage and to inspire that voice inside of you, the essence of who you are, the core of what makes you unique and different, that enabled you with tenacity and strength and courage to be one of the few to stand in the shoes of a military personnel, whatever branch that you were in. That is what we're wanting to embrace and acknowledge this afternoon. So I'm going to share with you some inspirational quotes. Before I do that, I want to let you know that some of these images, some of them, I don't know, you may find controversial, and if you do, that's okay. But instead, what I want you to pay close attention to are the words. And I want you to pay close attention to how their thought process carried them through adversity and obstacles and challenges that we just talked about. Some of these other women, these famous women that you made mention of, that they carried within them. And you'll find some of these women up here. But the message that I want you to see as I'm reading these inspirational quotes is I want you to find yourself. I want you to actively identify one or two or something that speaks to you, that inspires you. Again, not for Saturday, March 17th, 2018, but for every single day, for every single obstacle, for every single challenge that you may find yourself facing when you leave this conference today. So we're going to start by going through, so inspiration, we've already defined it. It's the breath of life, or breathed life into one's spirit. It is a hidden force that propels the life within all of us to impact the world around us. And recognizing that you are empowered to change your world. So here's Madeleine Albright. We all know her. It took me quite a long time to develop a voice. And now that I have it, I am not going to be silent. Maya Angelou, an American poet, a singer, well known. I am a woman, phenomenal woman. That's me. This is for everyone that's in here. There is no limit to what we as women can achieve. Michelle Obama. A woman with a voice is, by definition, a strong woman. Melinda Gates. And again, regardless of your personal views or opinions, these are words that are intended to encourage something inside of you. Women are leaders everywhere you look, from the CEO who runs a Fortune 500 company to the housewife who raises her children and heads her household. Our country was built by strong women, and we will continue to break down walls and defy stereotypes. Nancy Pelosi. Some people don't like her, but that's okay, because she is an empowered woman. I think the best, and I really, really like this, Meryl Streep said, I think the best role models for women are people who are fruitfully and confidently themselves, who bring light into the world. Again, many of you have not recognized that your presence at this juncture in time is bringing light into the world. I am empowered to change my world. Of course, I'm not worried about intimidating men. The type of man who will be intimidated by me is exactly the type of man I have no interest in. So this is someone who knows who she is and what she's wanting. Her name is Chimamanda Adichie. She's from Nigeria. No one can make you feel inferior without your consent. Eleanor Roosevelt also said, a woman is like a tea bag. You never know how strong she is until she gets in hot water. Some of you are a lot stronger than you may realize. Oprah Winfrey said, I've come to believe that each of us has a personal calling, that's what we're talking about, that's as unique as a fingerprint, and that the best way to succeed is to discover what you love and then find a way to offer it to others in the form of service, working hard, and also allowing the energy of the universe to lead you. She also said, if you look at what you have in life, you'll always have more. If you look at what you don't have in life, you'll never have enough. Think about that. Marissa Mayer. I really like this. I really, really like this. Really think about her words. I always did something that I was a little not ready to do. I think that's how you grow. When there's that moment of, wow, I'm not really sure I can do this, and you push through those moments, that's when you have a breakthrough. Many of you are at that moment. No matter what the situation, whether it's a family situation or it's your academic situation or it's finances or whatever it may be, push through that moment. A strong woman understands that the gifts such as logic, decisiveness, and strength are just as feminine as intuition and emotional connection. She values and uses all of her gifts. So again, we want to inspire that thing inside of you today and every single day after this conference ends. Anais Nin said, life shrinks or expands in proportion to one's courage. And we don't have too many more left, but I want to make sure that every person in this room has an opportunity to grab hold to something that will inspire you and catapult you into your next step when you leave this place. Betty Bender said, anything I've ever done that ultimately was worthwhile initially scared me to death. I love that. So what she's saying is, anticipate that you're going to experience fear along the way. Expect it. Don't be surprised by the fact that you're going to feel intimidated from time to time, but you press through those moments. Start where you are with what you have, and that will always lead you into something greater. Start right where you are. We had our meeting in the back, and someone had a really, astute question or astute experience that she shared about not exactly knowing where to start as a female veteran, knowing that she has a voice, knowing that there's something in her to do, but how do I start? And we talked about just taking a small step, nothing big, nothing huge, but take one small step first, and then the next steps will become a little bit more easy. Dreams are illustrations from the book Your Soul is Writing About You, and I'm going to speed through these till we get to the end. Whether I meant it or not, I challenge assumptions about women. I do make some people uncomfortable, which I'm well aware of, but that's just part of coming to grips with what I believe is still one of the most important pieces of unfinished business in human history: empowering women to be able to stand for themselves. Hillary Clinton. And then Malala Yousafzai. I hope I'm pronouncing that properly. She's got a lot to say, and she's earned the right to say it. I believe in the power of the voice of women. She also said education is the power terrorists fear most. So she was able to identify what the greatest threat was, and that is why you are in this room. Female veterans in higher education, because the world needs you. The world needs what you have to offer. The world needs your experiences, even if you don't think they're significant, they are. The world needs to see what you bring to the table. Malala also said, it feels like this life is not my life. It's a second life. People have prayed to God to spare me, and I was spared for a reason, to use my life for helping people. And then here's the final one, the last one. And it says, courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the judgment that something else is more important than fear. And I've intentionally left this one blank because I want you to envision your own self in that place. I want you to recognize what we've already been saying, the significance of this moment, and that you are empowered to change your world. And that if you embrace the fear, recognizing that it is a natural, normal, anticipated part of your life's journey, that you will be able to achieve what it is that you are defining for your life. This conference was intended to help empower your personal, your academic, and your professional journeys. Some of you are still defining them. You're still figuring that out, and that's okay. But even while you're figuring it out today in this room, still recognize the significance of who you are, of your experience and what you bring. And even though it may sometimes be a little difficult for women who we find it very easy to nurture and to support and encourage other people, sometimes it makes it a little bit more difficult for you to receive that same support, to receive that same encouragement, to receive that same push and nudge that helps you to find your place in the world, to find the reason that you were actually born and that you have life at this very moment in time. So again, I am empowered to change my world. So I want to shift a little bit, and then I'm going to move towards the end. But as I shift, I want to acknowledge the significance of some of the challenges and some of the impediments that a woman veteran in this room may experience. There are 4 things that I believe that could be some of the most significant impediments that you have to press and push yourself beyond and through. And I'm going to mention a few of those things so that you are not unaware, so that when you experience them, you'll recognize, that was one of those things that could become an impediment if I'm not able to recognize it and press beyond it with a determination. Fear is one of them. Fear is that uncomfortable emotional experience that we all feel from time to time, but it has the potential of impeding your progress if you allow it to speak negative words to you that you embrace and that you believe. So that's why this statement is so important, that courage is not the absence of fear, but instead it's the determination that my education is more important, that my family is more important, that my future is more important, that my establishment of myself in the medical career, in the medical field, in the entertainment field, in the science, and whatever it is that you're determining, the educational field, that is what's more important than the fear, and that's what I'm going to focus on. The next one is procrastination. From time to time, we're all guilty of it. It's delaying what we know that we're capable of doing and not doing what we know that we should do. Again, we've all experienced it, but procrastination is one of the other potential impediments to you achieving that goal that you have already determined and that you are defining even now. The lack of social supports. So the sense that I am isolated, that I'm alone, that I'm siloed, that there's no one that understands me, that there's no one that's interested in what it is that I'm pursuing. Most of the time, it's not true. And at least we know that in this room, it most certainly is not true. That you've got an endless amount of support. People who are cheering you on, who are believing in you, and who are relying on you, who are depending on you to recognize what you bring as female veterans in higher education, knowing that you've got somewhere to go. So as we get ready to end, or as I get ready to end, I have one exercise that I want to engage all of you in. And I just want to ask your permission to, for a few minutes, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes in just a few moments. And I'm going to ask you to close your eyes, and then I'm going to ask you to just listen. Because these impediments that I just mentioned to you a few moments ago are impediments that if you find quietness and if you find time to meditate, to focus, whatever your belief system is, you will find that there's wisdom in your ability to be quiet and silent, to reflect on the things that you've experienced, to reflect on the places that you're wanting to go and the places that you're wanting to achieve for yourself and for your family. We all need quiet time. And in a world where there's so much activity, so much busyness, we've got television, we've got Twitter, we've got cell phones, we've got social media, we've got all of these various things that are pulling at our attention, we need to find a quiet respite. And if you don't find it naturally, you have to make a way to find quiet, to reflect on where you're going, and to reflect on how you're going to get there and who's going to help assist you, because you've got people who are supporting you. So at this moment, I'm going to ask you, if you would, close your eyes. Just relax in the chair. Put your pens down, or whatever it is that you may be holding, please. Plant your feet squarely on the ground. And I'm going to start by asking you to take a deep breath in through your nose first. Deep breath in, and then exhale slowly out through your mouth. I want you to do it one more time. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Inhale, deep breath. And then exhale slowly out through your mouth. third and final time. Deep breath in through your nose. Exhale slowly out through your mouth. And in this moment, I'm going to share some words with you, and I just want you to listen. And as you listen, I want to encourage you to find yourself within this statement and connect yourself with whatever you find as truth with your eyes closed. Within me is a limitless reservoir of wisdom, discipline, ability, and determination. Although I may not know from whom or where it comes, I have seen glimpses throughout my life to know that it is there. Every day as I feed it, it will grow and enable me to surmount any challenge, overcome any obstacle, and not only accomplish my goals, but to discover the reason that I was born. And with your eyes still closed, this time I'm going to say it now that you've heard it. And I want you to quietly repeat it to yourself if it's something that you believe that you can commit to. So you're not going to say this out loud, but you're going to quietly, in your inner voice, repeat this to yourself. Within me is a limitless reservoir of wisdom, discipline, ability, and determination. Although I may not know from whom or where it comes, I have seen glimpses throughout my life to know it is there. Every day as I feed it, it will grow and enable me to surmount any challenge, overcome any obstacle, and not only accomplish my goals, but to discover the reason that I was born. Now I want you to take another deep breath in through your nose. Exhale slowly out through your mouth. Return to your regular breathing pattern, and then you can open your eyes when you're ready. When you're ready. So I want to ask you all, as I get ready to end and take my seat, how many of you would say that is something that I can believe in and that I could commit to myself? Can I see your hand? Perfect, perfect. You can put your hands down. Thank you. Now I want to encourage you for the next 30 days to commit that self-statement to yourself in the quiet moments of your day. It may be early in the morning before you put your feet on the ground to get ready to go to school or wherever. It may be when you're in the car driving and you turn the radio off for a few moments and you contemplate and you think about those words. It may be right before you or right after you put the children to sleep and you've read them that good night or good bedtime story, kissed them on the forehead and said, "Mommy loves you." It may be just before you close your eyes at night and go to sleep. It may be during your quiet time of meditation or prayer. Wherever it is, whenever it is that you decide, that you determine is best for you, find the quiet time and commit that statement to yourself for the next 30 days and see where that takes you, because that will help lead you to your next step. Embrace the support systems that are here in this room. Embrace your other sisters. Embrace your other brothers, military. Embrace your family, those who love you. Embrace the civilian support systems that are around you. Embrace those who are invested in you and in your future. Embrace them. And in the quiet moment, I want you to acknowledge those gifts to you and to acknowledge that self-statement. So as I take my seat, there's one last thing. It's an acronym that I want to share with you, and then I am going to be seated. And it's empowered. So if you've got a pen and paper, I want you to write empowered vertically. So E at the top, and then D at the very bottom. And I'll give you about 30 seconds to get that ready. Pull that out. And again, you're just going to write empowered. And then again, I'm going to take my seat. Ten more seconds. Okay, looks like you all have it. So E stands for educated. That is why you're here and what you are in pursuit of. An education. You deserve it. You've earned the right. And now you've achieved the first step by being admitted. You're here. So the E stands for educated. The M stands for mentally prepared. We talked about some of the women who are empowered women, who have changed their world, who have altered the course of your and my generation. About 50 or 60 years ago, women weren't even allowed to wear pants in certain places. So, I mean, these women and other women before them have altered and changed the future generation. So mentally prepared means I'm able to acknowledge that there are going to be obstacles and challenges. I'm ready for them because that's what life is going to present to me. That will be what's presented to those who are willing to change the trajectory of their lives. The P stands for purposeful in my advancement. So I have thought about my goals. I've thought about my career. I've thought about what it is that I'm wanting to pursue. So I'm purposeful in my next step and what I'm deciding to do next. The O stands for optimistic about my long-term goals. You've got to be able to speak to yourself from time to time and say, I'm going to achieve this. I'm going to accomplish this. I am going to do it. I may not know how to from time to time, but as long as I never give up, as long as I don't stop, I will achieve it. So I want you to be optimistic about your long-term goals. W stands for willing to take positive chances. We're not just talking about risky, willy-nilly things that aren't significant to where you're headed and going or that could risk potential harm. We're talking about your willingness to take chances like some of these women did in order to change your world. The other E stands for engaged to make a difference. Your presence here and your participation here is your engagement. You being actively involved in your community and your families, in the veteran community, and where you're wanting to see the future. You are actively engaged in that. So engaged to make a difference. The R stands for resilient. And I think it was already mentioned earlier. Kayla Williams talked about how you are resilient, whether you recognize that or not. Resilient in the face of adversity. The final E stands for enriched by the support systems of others around me. Your willingness to acknowledge that there are people who are supporting you, but you need to embrace that. You no longer have to fight the fight alone. You've got a community that is honoring what you've already done. Again, whether you see it as significant or not, people are intrigued by female veterans. They're interested in you. They're interested in what you have to say. They're interested in your experiences. So I want you to be enriched by connecting with other social supports. And then lastly, the D stands for determined to accomplish and achieve my personal, my academic, and my professional goals. I am determined. I am not going to be swayed. I will achieve it. I am empowered to change my world. So as I end, I want you all to say that one more time, this time like you really mean it and like you want to blow the roof off of this building. I am empowered to change my world.
I am empowered to change my world.
One last time.
I am empowered to change my world.
Thank you very much.